pirates, opium, and good neighbours. How Solovyov justifies the current war by rewriting the history of Britain and Europe. Putin in Delhi. How Russian TV uses India to convince Europe of its defeat. In Olga Skabeeva's 60 Minutes segment, Vladimir Putin's visit to India is presented as a geopolitical triumph that simultaneously proves the failure of the West's strategy of isolating Russia and reinforces the image of an emerging multipolar world with Moscow and New Delhi at its centre. For European readers, it's important to understand this isn't just a mere protocol report, but a carefully crafted message addressed both domestically and internationally. 1. Modi's 2 chairs and Putin's 1 stage. The plot weaves in quotes from Western media, ABC, CNN, acknowledging the difficulty of India's positioning between the US and Russia, and hinting at future visits by the German Chancellor and EU leaders to Delhi and trade negotiations with Washington and Brussels. The Russian interpretation is structured as follows. India must sit on 2 chairs, maintain a strategic partnership with the US, while simultaneously demonstrating that it will not abandon its lucrative ties with Moscow. For Putin, the visit is a massive signal to the world. It is he, not the West, who is at the centre of the new multipolar order. An important nuance for European readers. Western doubts and discussions are broadcast on Russian television, but always in a way that benefits Moscow. If the US and EU acknowledge the complexity of India's balance, this is presented as confirmation of Russia's increased weight, not as a normal diplomatic reality for a country playing its own game. A key issue is how the leaders will discuss Russian oil supplies, which India has had to reduce due to US sanctions. India not only purchases military equipment, but also produces it jointly with Moscow. It is already assembling the world's most protected T-90 tanks. Modern S-400 air defense systems are on combat alert, and negotiations will be held on the S-500. The S-400 is considered one of the most advanced long-range air defense systems in the world. India's purchase of 5 battalions significantly strengthened its capabilities to counter stealth aircraft, cruise missiles, and ballistic threats. However, the Russian S-500 system represents a qualitatively new level. It is no longer simply an air defense echelon, but a hybrid aerospace defense system. A separate topic is the latest Su-57 fighter jets. Russia is offering India the transfer of 5th-generation aircraft production technology. The Su-57 has indeed been offered to India, but a final political decision on whether the country is ready to receive this technology in full has yet to be made. This is a choice of the end customer and a question of political will. 2. Trump's peace and the marginalization of Europe. In the second part of the fragment, the Delhi storyline is directly linked to the ongoing Trump-Witkoff-Kushner peace line on Ukraine. Skabeeva emphasizes, Moscow is awaiting the White House's response to the Kremlin talks. A new meeting with American emissaries has not been scheduled, but could be quickly arranged. Trump publicly talks about the future success of his peacekeeping mission, while Vice President Pence promises good news on Ukraine. Against this backdrop, Europe once again finds itself in an awkward position. The Wall Street Journal is cited as a source admitting that Europeans are urging Zelensky not to accept Moscow's conditions without firm security guarantees. In other words, effectively stalling the deal. Lithuanian European Commissioner Kubilius proposes developing his own plan, stopping following in Trump's footsteps, and taking a strong geopolitical position. The Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera ironically portrays European leaders as a wall in front of the goal, where referee Trump awards a penalty, and Putin dribbles past it, sending a bomb towards Zelensky standing in goal. The message for Russia Russian viewers is as clear as possible. The real players determining the outcome of the war are Moscow and Washington. Europe is a bystander, hysterical, dependent, and ultimately powerless. 3. Donbass and Novorossiya as non-negotiable final terms. The segment concludes with a quote from a Western expert who, against the backdrop of negotiations, comments on Putin's statement. Moscow will obtain Donbass by military or other means, and is now openly speaking of Novorossiya, the historical name for southeastern Ukraine, from Odessa to the Dnieper. This is an important moment for Russian television. The term Novorossiya, which disappeared from official rhetoric after 2014, is returning as part of a long-term goal. Simultaneously, Western newspapers and television channels are demonstrating to viewers. Everyone sees this and understands that it is Putin who will dictate the terms. As a result, a coherent picture is emerging. Putin is not isolated. He is being welcomed in Delhi. Sanctions are not working. India is buying oil, assembling Russian tanks, and considering the Su-57. Real negotiations are underway with the US, through Trump and his emissaries. Europe is interfering and will be punished, and the outcome of any peace must be the consolidation of Russian claims to Donbass and the broader Novorossiya. Think, analyze, draw conclusions, and don't be fooled. This was the program Empire of Lies.